Hi guys, my name is Izzy. I'm a sporadic YouTuber. I am here to do my worst books of 2022. Let's get into it, shall we? It's gonna be a little painful. Alright, so I have 5 books on this list. So it's really not as bad as my best books list, because my best books list was really hard to narrow down. This one was really easy. I did have some books that were just meh throughout the year, that were forgettable. But those aren't on this list because I still enjoyed them enough that they didn't infuriate me. But these are the 5 books that, like, yep, very easily made the top 5. So this video might end up being just as long because I'm just complaining. Hi Ari, do you need to brush up against them? Oh, say hi. Say hi. Oh yes. So yeah, I'll get into them in a minute once we're done snuggling a sweetie. Oh, you're so sweet. Aria. I love this cat. I love this kitty. I love you. Oh my goodness. I love this cat so much. Wanna look out the window? Well, anyway, book number 5. I think these books are going to continue to be on this list. Is book 4 of the Dark Tower series, Wizard and Glass. I don't like this series at all. Not even a little bit. I liked the second book. Hated the first book. I think it ended up on my worst books of the year list when I read it. Really liked the second book. Hated the third book. Hated the fourth book. Why do I continue to read them? Because my partner continues to expect me to read this series, and they continue to be painful. I can't even tell you a damn thing about this book. I don't remember what happened. I just remember I didn't like it. Yep. Number 4 is Molly's Game. This I was forced to read for school, otherwise I would have never read this book in a million years. This book is god-awful. This is a non-fiction book. It's a true story. And this woman, if you want to read about a privileged white lady whining about how the justice system is doing her wrong when she committed a crime, this is the book for you. Like, she ends the book. There's also a movie, and I hate the movie too. Even though it has the glorious Idris Elba in it. Yeah, I don't like the movie either. It's just as bad as the story as this. But like, she ends like the book and the movie at like the same kind of spot, but she ends it with like complaining about like how she can't do things as a felon, and I'm like, bitch, you put yourself in that position. You put yourself in all of this situation, and this whole book is just like a boo-hoo. I'm a white lady and I privilege and bleh, and I'm just like, ugh. It was just so fucking annoying. It was a very annoying book. I do not recommend it to anyone unless you want to rip your fucking hair out. I hated this book. I hate Molly. I hate her in person. Number 3 is going to be The Girl Who Circumnavigated the World. I forgot that I read this last year because it feels like I read it years ago, but I think I read it at like the beginning of the year of last year. And this I buddy read with Shannon, maybe Kay Kelly. Kay Kelly, did you read it with us? I can't remember. And I think Sarah from Sarah's Reading Nook also read it. I think she read it on her own before, and then she just joined in on the chat, I think. I don't know if anyone else read it, but I hated this book. It was a middle grade book, which I was really bummed because usually we pick good middle grades to read all together. Like right now we're reading The Last Fallen Moon, which is the sequel to The Fallen Star, which was, I love The Fallen Star. I just reread it and I remembered why I loved it so much. And I'm currently reading that one and I'm really enjoying it. But this one was a dud, and it is a whole series, and it is the first time I think that we started a book and we're like, you know what, we're not finishing this series at all. Like, it was just not, it was trying way too hard to be Alice in Wonderland, I think, and it was just nonsensical, but not in the way that Alice in Wonderland is nonsensical. It's like it tried to do that, tried to emulate that, and it just did not work for me. Like, the execution was very poor. Yeah, and I actually struggled to get through that book, like physically struggled to get through the book, which is not, that doesn't happen for me with middle grade, ever. I've never had that kind of like, I don't want to pick it up kind of vibes. Like, I was dreading picking it up every time I picked it up. Yeah, so that's on this list. The next one I might get some hate for. I'm sorry. It's the cat and mouse duet. It's Haunting Adelaine and Hunting Adelaine. These are by H.D. Carlton, I can't remember. Yeah, I hated these two books. And if you know anything about me, so I read the first book, and I know what you're thinking, why did you read the sequel then if you hated the first book so much? I read the sequel because I was sending ridiculous quotes to a girl in my class, which is good because we bonded. The one girl in my class, like, I gained a friend out of this book series, so because I sent her so many just ridiculous quotes from that book. I highlighted so many ridiculous things. If you watched my best book video, you know that there was a lot of dark fantasy, or dark romance on that best books list. I love me some dark romance. And I think, like, my hesitation with speaking about this one is because it is very popular in the bookish community, especially Book Talk, which is where I heard of it, and now I know not to take suggestions from Book Talk, which I already kind of knew. But yeah, I'm expecting people to assume that I didn't like it because of the dark aspects, but that's not it. I don't care about the dark aspects. There was even like a TikTok or a reel I saw recently that was like making a joke from one of the darker scenes from the book, and I'm like, aha, like, I actually laughed at it, even though this is on my worst books of the year list. It was the writing, and I hate to say that because as a creative writer myself, it hurts me, and I've seen this author on TikTok, and she seems absolutely, positively lovely, but this book series is not it. It is just, it's in desperate need of a better editor. She thanks her editors at the end of each book, and I'm like, honey, you shouldn't be thanking them. They are not doing you any service. There were multiple, like, throwaway things within this book that, like, drove me fucking nuts. Like, the author, the main character is an author at one point, right? Like, that's introduced at the beginning of the book, and then it's just never talked about again. And it's like, they took, like, it was like, I was reading, like, 3 different books shoved into one, and the length of these books are long. They are long, and they feel long. Like Den of Vipers, which I'm not going to dig off that shelf over there because it's up there and I don't want to reach. But Den of Vipers, if you watch my best books list, Den of Vipers is like this big. Den of Vipers was thick. And while some of the dialogue and some of the things in Den of Vipers were a little, like, awkward, it still made my best books list because it was, like, a pretty cohesive story for the most part. For the most part, it was a lot of smut. Maybe that's why I liked it. I think a lot of it, and I'm trying not to be like, fuck this book and fuck everyone who likes it, because I don't feel that way. I just think, I think her editors did her a disservice. That's where I really think. I think the book could have been edited a little bit better, and I think it would have been a better book, but it ended up being on my worst books of the year list. But number 1 on this list, number 1 is Hades by Carly Spade, I think it was. Listen, I read a lot of Hades and Persephone smut these past, like, 2 years, okay? I am in love with Hades and Persephone. I would love to be their third any day. I'm not worthy enough. But this one takes the fucking cake when it comes to bad. And I read some cheesy ones this past year, but this one, I don't even know where to start with this book and how bad it is. So, let's start out with first off, there were some inconsistencies that drove me fucking bonkers. So she flies to Greece, right? Lands in Athens airport, but takes a taxi from the Atlanta, from the Athens airport all the way to Corfu. Is it Corfu or Corfu? I don't know. I haven't been to Greece yet, but it's on my list. But she took a taxi from Athens to Corfu, and I know enough about the layout of Greece that that's not, nope. So much so that it ripped me out of the book. I put the book down, and I was only like a couple chapters in. I put the book down, went to Google, you know, as my ADHD brain does. Like when something's off, my brain goes, what? And then I have to spend, you know, way too much amount of time on Google figuring out what. So there is a ferry that will take you from Athens up to Corfu in like a couple hours. She took a taxi? That's like 11, 12 hours or something ridiculous in a taxi. That was just the tip of the iceberg, right? Let's say I read it wrong and she didn't actually land in Athens, but if she's flying last minute, I'm assuming she would have been in Athens, and she made it sound like Athens. And the way she described what she could see from the airport, so she was describing basically Santorini. If you know anything about Greece, like I've never been to Greece, but Greece is very high up on our list of travel destinations. So like we've already done a bunch of research for Greece, so maybe that's why it's annoying the hell out of me. But Santorini, she's like talking about, like she said that when they flew into the airport, she's describing what she saw from the window of the airplane, like the coastline and the white buildings with the blue tops. And I'm like, girl, I Google mapped the airport. I was sending all this to my partner because I was just bitching. I Google Maps the airport on Corfu just in case I fucked that up and I wasn't reading correctly, and she didn't. I'm like, okay, that airport and the Athens airport, neither one has those things you can see from the tarmac. Nothing. But that, like I said, those kind of inconsistencies were the tip of the fucking iceberg for me. The tip of the iceberg. The best thing about this book, and by best I mean the worst thing, so she spends the entire vacation in a resort, never leaving the resort. Why even go to Greece, first off? That's just annoying to me. Why spend the money, fly to Greece, and then just spend the entire day, I mean the entire like week or whatever, in a resort, and never leaving, never going to see anything, no sights, nothing. Ooh, that was just like a personal irritation. But whatever, to each their own. So she meets Hades at this resort. Why he's there, don't even get me started. They have a Dirty Dancing is this main character's favorite movie. They have a Dirty Dancing talent show thing? Dirty Dancing dance? Guys, Hades and her enter the competition, the Dirty Dancing competition. Can you imagine Hades, Lord of the Underworld, dancing to Dirty Dancing? Just let it sit for a minute. I mean, I'm not saying that he wouldn't, but I'm saying imagine it. Can you even imagine it? Because it was rough for me. I have never laughed so hard while reading a book. Really, Lord of the Underworld, Watcher over the Dead, and he's Dirty Dancing. Oh, yeah. So anyway, that is why that book ended up in my worst books list, for obvious reasons, at the top. Anyway, there you go. There you have it. Those are my worst books. on to bigger and better things, hopefully. It's not that bad, right? Because it's only 5 books. Like I said, there were some books in there that were like meh, but these ones took the cake for me. Anyway, I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Peace, I'm out, goodbye, all the things. Bye!